it's important to remember that there are many different aspects to ROI. So let's take a look at 6 platform benefits that help you maximize your ROI. So those include unlimited licensing with the example of Chobani, optimized deployment, maintenance, and uptime with the example of Mad Tree Brewing, digitization with the example of San Bernardino County's landfills, visibility of data with the examples of Madison Kip Corporation and the Paris T9 Tramway, bandwidth savings with the example of ARB Midstream, and leveraging the cloud with the example of a project built by ESM Australia. So we have some really good case studies to show in terms of some of the benefits that platforms can provide. First is unlimited licensing. It allows you to easily expand your system. There's no cost for additional tags, screens, clients, projects, device connections, and more. You can focus on the implementation and on getting value and not having to worry about whether or not the license will cover an additional set of users or additional set of tags or devices. It allows you to get ROI more quickly. And this is a fundamental piece of Ignition from the very beginning to be unlimited. It lets you solve challenges without worrying about arbitrary limits or extra fees. And the only real limit is your imagination. If you can dream it, you can do it. And that's kind of been our tagline. And it's really true. We've seen a lot of people be able to build on and build in ways they never thought. It's outside the realms of HMI SCADA, doing things that are really innovative. Chobani is the perfect example of that. They are the top Greek yogurt brand in America, and they were chosen as Dairy Foods Magazine's 2020 Processor of the Year. They have plants in New York, Australia, and Idaho. Their Idaho plant is the largest yogurt manufacturing facility in the world. Chobani has used Ignition for years at all 3 of their plants. Ignition helps Chobani keep production running smoothly, and its unlimited licensing has helped them keep up with the rising demand for their product. John Furby, an automation engineer for Chobani, said, "Because of the unlimited licensing with Ignition, we can roll out as many clients, as many places as we want, whenever we see the need." Because they don't have to deal with typical licensing issues, Chobani can implement new projects very quickly. JC Givens, the Global Network Services Manager for Chobani, said, "With Ignition, we've been able to roll out several different projects more aggressively to get data to the operators on the plant floor more quickly. Chobani can see data from the plant floor up to the executive level, on filler and packaging lines, for quality control, in asset management, with enterprise resource planning or ERP, and in capital expenditure project management. Chobani sees great value in the ability to easily share data with more people throughout their organization because it ultimately helps them do their jobs better." Now, Mark, I know you're dealing with a lot of your customers, and this is an important choice for them in terms of unlimited licensing. Would you like to add any comments about the unlimited licensing based on your experience?
For sure, Travis. I mean, I know firsthand, if I relate it back to the Dublin Airport example, Ignition's unlimited licensing model was one of the main deciding factors as to why they chose Ignition as their airport standard in the first place. They've benefited from this model many times, allowing the number of clients to grow without the need for costly additional licensing.
Thank you very much.
I'll pick it up there if you want to go forward on that in terms of finishing up. And let's take a look at the optimized deployment, maintenance, and uptime as another example, another area of ROI for lowering your total cost of ownership. There's a lot of benefits from the Ignition platform when you look at that ability to optimize deployment, maintenance, and uptime as part of your solution. So over time, it happens to be the case that this can save you an enormous amount of time, and it lowers total cost of ownership. You get hassle-free licensing, no installation, no restoring backups, no licensing, automatic updates, and you can end up deploying your proper architecture. So it's easy to patch the client and the OS, and you get more uptime without costly upgrades and, of course, outages. Here's a great example of that. Mad Tree Brewing Company. It's a craft brewer based in Cincinnati, Ohio. And Mad Tree they've grown really rapidly since they opened in 2013. They wanted to be able to monitor all aspects of their production. They used Ignition to develop a fully integrated recipe management system for the entire production facility, everything from the brew house to cellaring, all the way on through to packaging. And as a result, Mad Tree can now see the data more quickly, enables better troubleshooting, and of course, faster responses. It's also helped them to streamline their processes and increase their production capacity. And Mark, I'm going to come back to you also here. I know you have a little different take on the maintenance aspect, but could you talk maybe a little bit about that from your perspective?
Oh, absolutely, Don. So as you can probably imagine, maintenance is of critical importance at an international airport. With an almost 24/7 operation, very little time is available for preventative maintenance. Not only is Ignition used to target maintenance activities during those off hours, but with the built-in email alerting, that's used by maintenance to alert when the system is operating outside of its optimal performance to get ahead of costly downtime and outages.
Thanks, Mark. Totally appreciate the comments on that. So let's look at digitization. Really, when you think of Ignition, it actually gives you the opportunity for digitization. You know, by connecting to and doing more with your data, you end up getting greater value, greater efficiency, and start turning that vision, if you will, of Industry 4.0 or digital transformation into reality. With Ignition, you can, as these bullet points point out, you collect more data, open up your data, increase the functionality in one application, reduce manual work, eliminate paper and mistakes, introduce new smart sensors, and leverage smart TVs and mobile devices. Great example of this is San Bernardino County in Southern California. The county had a problem. They needed to find a next generation visualization and control system for its landfills. By doing a pilot project at their San Mateo landfill, they were able to integrate next generation options such as 3D imaging from drones and virtual reality. Landfill executives and operators can now actually view the site and perform troubleshooting remotely from any device. Prior to implementing Ignition perspective on the system, all of their internal and regulatory reports were filled out by hand. Now these reports are completed automatically, pulling data from the system. This reduces operations and maintenance costs and also reduces human error, which is a tremendous benefit for the organization. So Travis, I actually know that you may have a couple of comments to make on the digitization side, but I'm going to hand it back to you to pick up on the next couple of case studies.
Yeah, in terms of digitization, I just wanted to point out that we are working, our teams work a lot with end user integrators on, how to get more value out of the data. And, Industry 4.0, a lot of the efforts that are happening, I know with COVID-19, a lot of companies are putting a lot of emphasis and doing a lot of POCs to not only get at more data, but to do more with that now. It's really kind of been a catalyst, it's really accelerated these solutions. But I wanted to make sure to point out that it's not something that has to be a complete rip and replace or thought of as a really massive project. There are really great ways to put in new sensors or to just collect more data, get it into an infrastructure, have it more accessible, or maybe have a hybrid approach with on-premise to utilizing cloud services like AWS SiteWise or Azure, time series insights, things like that, where you can go a lot further with that to get into analytics and machine learning. There's ways to just digitize on-premise, and there's ways to extend that and even go a lot further. And there's just tremendous value you can get out if you have some good use cases for that. You could do it pretty cost effectively with the technology that's available here today. So then to kind of look at the next three ROI areas, let's take a look more at visibility, increased visibility, and access to data. As you look, really, that's a fundamental piece of digitization. And Ignition from the very beginning has allowed you to provide data to anyone, anywhere on any device, leverage smart TVs, mobile devices, increase the audience for that data, provide secure access, reduce travel, which results in lower costs in fuel, labor, and vehicles, as we saw in the example of Chobani, and it helps you stay connected during emergencies. Madison Kit Corporation, or MKC, is a great example of this. They're based in Madison, Wisconsin, and they make precision machined aluminum die castings and subassemblies for markets like transportation, lawn and garden, and industrial. MKC needed to bring down its costs and raise efficiency, so they looked for a solution that could help. MKC implemented Ignition for central SCADA, control of Ignition Edge clients, part tracking, part history, reporting, alarms, alarm history, transaction management, API access, predictive control for HVAC, text notifications, and a whole lot more. As a result, MKC met their goals to save costs and improve efficiency. They can access data from anywhere and get real-time data from their processes and machines. Instead of the engineers spending a lot of time collecting data on their own, Ignition lets them pull data in, look at it, and solve problems very quickly. Troubleshooting is easier because they don't have to travel to another facility, and they can see and address issues much more quickly now. It also helps their customers be happier because the customers had been demanding access to more data about how their products were being produced. Ignition allows MKC to share data with customers without the customers needing to travel as well. Another benefit of increased visibility is the ability to combine data sources. Getting access to data helps you bring data together into a single place from systems like ERP or CMS or MES or document management, labor systems, and a lot more. It really helps you provide more context. It helps operators be more efficient, have this tighter integration between these systems, allow the systems to work better with less manual work and overall less error for people having to manually bring data from one system to another. And these systems can work together versus, again, being siloed or independent systems. And all of these improvements really add up to a huge ROI. The Smart Mobility Platform, or SMP, is a great example of this. The SMP is a software solution for tramway and metro control and management systems, and for road and tunnel control and management systems. The SMP connects the safety and traffic management systems to the control room in order to ensure customer security and safety and enhance the mobility experience. SMP is built with Ignition, and the most comprehensive use case of it is the Paris T9 tramway project. Because of the platform built with Ignition, all of these systems, such as video, public address system, intercom, network management system, and IP equipment, are interconnected in real time to the control room. The operator has a unified HMI to monitor and control all equipment. That single pane of glass idea. The HMI is easy to use for operation and maintenance, troubleshooting, and advanced system and equipment diagnostics. Now, Mark, do you have any thoughts about Ignition's ability to provide increased visibility in terms of the customers that you have been working with?
Yeah, sure, Travis. Like if I bring it back to the Dublin Airport example, prior to the project that we completed there, access to the SCADA and HMI was only available in the baggage control room. And it required people to travel from around the airport to the control room in order to be able to see what was going on. But with Ignition's cross-platform compatibility and flexibility, this enabled the airport to gain visibility outside the control room into the bag room and beyond. With proper secure access, maintenance and operation personnel are even able to remotely view the system from outside the airport. It's amazing.
Yeah, you think like, what can it mean if everybody can get access to data no matter where they happen to be, and especially if they wanted to, if you leverage mobile devices and get people information on their phones. And with COVID, it's been really important to have visibility of data at home, help troubleshoot and be able to stay connected during all of this. So visibility is really key, and it comes into connecting to data and getting that data out to more people. Another aspect of ROI that might get underappreciated is savings through bandwidth reduction, or by reducing bandwidth, how we can create more value by getting more data through that bandwidth. So a great way to leverage this is with the MQTT protocol. We've been talking about this quite a bit. The protocol is a very low bandwidth protocol. It was built that way. It's report by exception. It lets you decouple devices from applications, provides a single source of truth. It lets you really leverage edge devices. It offers a plug and play architecture, and it makes it really, really easy to upgrade or replace pieces because of it being decoupled. The sources of data don't know who the consumers are, and vice versa. The consumers don't know exactly where that data is, but that data is all accessible by infrastructure, and more applications, more consumers can take advantage of that data. We talk about it in a way of really solving the OT problems, making architecture that fundamentally gets data to an open structure that really bridges the brownfield world, where we take PLCs and pull those and bring it into MQTT, as well as you buying new sensors, plugging them in that automatically speak MQTT. It is the de facto standard for IoT or for IoT in general. and a lot of companies and OEMs are bringing devices that support this natively. So it offers a lot of real benefits, but the biggest one is that bandwidth savings. This can be really beneficial for oil and gas customers. It can be beneficial for really anybody, for any organization. There's a lot of good use cases. But let's take a look at an oil and gas one in particular, where there's a lot of remote wells or pipelines where we want to be able to get data. And a good example of this is ARB Midstream. They are a provider of midstream and marketing solutions for crude oil, refined products, and liquefied petroleum gas based in Denver. ARB purchased a crude oil pipeline system, and the agreement called for them to start operating the pipeline in just 6 months. So they only had 6 months to build a complete SCADA system for an oil pipeline with 37 sites, while also doing hardware upgrades, creating a new network, and building a control room from scratch. This was really a big challenge. So ARB Midstream brought in the help from a systems integrator, Industrial Networking Solutions, to help with this ambitious project. INS delivered a SCADA solution with cloud-based reporting, management, visibility, control, and failover capabilities. They used the Ignition Edge for store and forward capabilities, and in case there's lots of communication, and to bridge PLC communication to MQTT. So they leveraged the Cirrus Link MQTT modules for Ignition, and that allowed for reduced data rates and flexible automation for the addition of new devices in the field. Another benefit was the compressed data, allowing for more efficient cellular communications, right? So they can really have a lot of savings just on, the cellular piece of it there, because there are costs, right, for that. Bandwidth is not free, so the way if we can reduce that, then I can save money, or if that we want to reduce it to be able to allow more data to go through that pipe, there's value in both of those. Then the way we had traditionally have architected, where a central system would pull those PLCs over that kind of network. So if we look, I kind of mentioned the cloud in that last app example, and there's a lot of ways that we can really leverage the cloud, and there's a lot of opportunities that we can seize from the cloud. Ignition cloud architecture or hybrid architecture enables the organization to easily deploy applications to the cloud, provide greater access. We can easily inject data into cloud services. We can get unlimited storage and computability compared to on-premise solutions. We can get advanced analytics and machine learning with less overall maintenance, and really we can provide true scalability. It can be really hard. The amount of data that's out there today is just increasing. A lot more devices, a lot more locations, a lot more information we want to bring in. Storing it on-premise is very challenging. Leveraging the cloud for the scalability and the less overall maintenance is a great solution to that, and we can do it today securely. So a good example of that is a project by ESM. So they're a premier Ignition integrator. They developed a scalable asset management system to monitor performance and meet service requirements for a water management and recycling company that has systems deployed all over Australia. Using a mix of MQTT and legacy FTP-enabled gateways in the field, they harness the scalability of Ignition to provide a platform that allowed the client to add, remove, and manage connected assets without the need to open the designer. By deploying Ignition on AWS in the cloud, they got around the usual IT headaches of managing and scaling server hardware infrastructure. Their use of MQTT radically decreased bandwidth usage and offered massive scalability, as we said a few minutes ago. Operations, dispatchers, and maintenance teams now have real-time visibility of all assets. ESM estimates that a client has decreased number of miles driven to service sites by 40%, which directly translates to savings in fuel, labor, and vehicle costs. Not to mention, now with the changing landscape, data is accessible by anybody, no matter where they are on any device. Mark, as integrator, what's your perspective on gaining ROI by leveraging the cloud?
So we're actually seeing cloud technology becoming more and more commonplace in industrial environments. 10 years ago, it wasn't heard of, but now it's seen in a lot of the projects we're doing. It's opening up a whole new world of possibilities. One exciting project that we're working on that leverages both Perspective and the cloud is at Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport for American Airlines. So they are utilizing a Perspective mobile application on Wi-Fi enabled tablets to allow their maintenance personnel to be mobile around the bag room while still having access to the HMI and SCADA. This application is being added in conjunction with their existing Vision HMI application. And Dublin Airport, if we bring it back to the Dublin example, they recently saw this new mobile application at our yearly users group that we just ran in October. And we're now in preliminary discussions with them about adding this application to their baggage handling system as well. They definitely feel that the ROI is there for doing such task.
It is really funny that you rewind not that long ago, where wireless on tablets and or mobile devices was just unheard of. They didn't want to put those in place, or leveraging the cloud was just simply unheard of as well. And we're seeing that change drastically. And do you, by any chance, Mark, do you have are you seeing the kind of the pandemic to be a catalyst as well for a lot of these by leveraging a lot of these newer technologies?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, Will, with COVID and the pandemic, and more and more people are working remotely and needing access to this data remotely, and the cloud is definitely enabling that. One of the things that was almost a stumbling block at the beginning when we were originally talking to American Airlines about doing this is they were worried about security, because immediately you mention the cloud and people think that it's not secure, but fortunately we, with your help, were able to convince them that Ignition was a secure platform, and that providing this access and this the system via the cloud, that that it was going to still be secure, and unwanted people were not going to get access to the data.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, security is paramount with a lot of these newer technologies that are security and opening up access to data in general. There's a lot of resistance because they're worried about security, but there's some great tried and true secure technologies that are available, and that that platforms all really benefit from, and they have fundamentally built into their tools.